Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, and I'm back with another movie review. And this movie was brought to me by BET Plus. It just came out a few days ago, so we have Stay Out. So let's just get into it. So it stars Kareem Grimes. If y'all don't know who that is Preach from All American. Like, yes, okay. So he plays Jonathan Jones, and he has a wife named Simone. So they both work at two different companies, but his wife had to leave early for a out-of-town business trip, and he was stuck at work at the office. So he greets his wife is getting ready to leave for her trip, and he's talking about he wants some, and she was like, nah, when you get back, I got you. And he was like, oh, so he gave her a kiss that he loved her and everything. So he gets to work. And one of his coworkers, he always like busts his chop because he's a white guy. So he be trying to be funny with the jokes, and it's not funny, but it's like they let him pass because, you know, that's his homeboy. So they having a little kiki moment, and he was saying some slick stuff out his mouth, and he just basically Donovan just let it ride. And so he goes, I guess his name is Mike, he goes back to his office, and next you know, Donovan gets a phone call, come to find out some attorney calling to let him know that his uncle Rufus property in Georgia is being left to him, so he got to come down there to take care of it. And he was like, I thought my aunt Velma handled the estate. She was like, yeah, she did, but she passed away 10 years ago. And it was like, so why y'all wait so long to call me with this information? He was like, well, I don't know why either, but yeah, that's just, it's been a like whole battle with this situation. So we was just like, okay. So he ended up telling his wife that he got to go out of town. He lets his other colleagues know that he had to go out of town as well. And he gets home, and he starts noticing, or it's like this eerie feeling you get when you know something is about to go wrong. So he just started seeing it. So he ended up going into one of his cabinets and getting out the photo album of how he used to go down there when he was a kid. So where the house is located in Blue Ridge, Georgia. So that must means it's a racist town, a bunch of rednecks or whatever. So yeah, come to find out, I think back in 1958, I think at the time, or 68, his Uncle Rufus and Aunt Velma, they was like the only black people in town, and they had this nice, beautiful house. So there was these two people, I think was Cole Willis and Joshua Anthony, who kept trying to like get him to basically buy out his property and kick him out of town. And Rufus stood his ground and was like, no, that's not going to happen. So he had one friend, Sam, who was, I think, the cop at the time. Or, yeah, he wasn't the cop, but he was his friend at the time. He thought, and he would sit and talk to them. So one day, I think while Rufus was at home, Cole and Joshua approached Sam and was like, he's your friend, but I'm gonna need a favor from you. So later on that night, Sam goes over to Rufus's house to drink and whatever. He was like, yeah, I'm about to call the night. And Sam said he would close up for him. So as Rufus went in and said his goodbyes, Sam got up to get the key down off the top pillar by the porch. Well, yeah, same thing. He goes to lock the door. But then next, you know, you see Cole and Joshua come in the house. I think, now that I watched it back, Sam unlocked the door from the outside in. Because, like, how else would they be able to get into his house? Because if Rufus is going to lock it from the inside out, from the inside, how else would they have gotten into the house? So Sam knew where Rufus kept the key and everything, because that's like his best friend. So yeah, and they end up taking Rufus out in the middle of the night because he was not trying to give up his property. And come to find out in the morning, he was hung to death. So Velma wakes up, and she notices like an eerie feeling. She starts looking around for, she don't see her husband. She goes outside. She's like, Rufus, Rufus, Rufus. So she walks down to the end of, I guess, the driveway or the backyard, and she notices her husband is hanging dead, and she goes to give him a hug. Hold on. So she gives him a hug and let out this piercing scream like, oh my gosh, like what did I do? So at the same time, present day, Rufus and Velma were into like that witchcraft voodoo stuff, like whatever harm comes to them is going to come back on you tenfold. So they believed in that energy, and that's just basically what he did. So now that Donovan is back into the picture, because that's his great nephew, he goes to stay at a hotel, and then he ends up going into a general store to buy stuff. And then one of the people at the store was like trying to scare him out, and then the lady clerk at the register, she was like, he does that to all the people because basically he seems so out of place. He's the only black guy. Well, so we know he's the only black guy that comes in and stuff like that. So one of these guys named John was like, hey, you're part of Rufus. He was like, yeah, you're not meant to black people coming here like this. So I already know. And yeah, so while they're having an altercation at the general store, this girl named Ravine and her friend Jamie and this other boy, Ravine is the only other black person in that town. And them three was ditching school and stuff like that. So before Ravine got home, her mom, Elisa, got a phone call saying that she wasn't in school, and then her father, William, was just like trying to play it off like she's a good girl. You know, it is what it is. So the mom didn't like that. So eventually Ravine went home because Donovan's car, I skipped ahead. Before Donovan got out the general store, Ravine and her friends, them same three, was vandalizing his car. And then next you know, some guy come out of nowhere and was like, leave this town. And he was like spooked. And then he ended up going to Ravine, was like, what are you doing? And eventually she ran off towards her friends. And they was like, she was like, why you leave me like that? So now it's the next day. We did the whole school part. They skipped school, whatever. So her mom gets the phone call. They Ravine ends up going back to the house. And her mom and dad talks to her, let her know, like, this is what's up. You shouldn't be doing this. You got to keep your head in your books. Like, I understand you don't want to be here, but, you know, we got to make do with what's here. So, yeah. So, William is basically like a mechanic. And then, like, he's trying to get his business up and running. So, he gets a knock on the door. This white guy comes to open the door. I don't know his name, but whatever. So, he goes to get his car. And he was like, yeah, you know how it is. I'll pay you later. Basically, he just got his car done for free. And he ain't planning on playing him. So the wife had an attitude behind that. Because, like, you just let all these people walk all over you. Like, no, put your foot down. I understand some things in a town like that. You just, you know, smile and wave. And keep on going about your business. You ain't trying to cause no unnecessary drama or trouble in any shape, form, or fashion. So, that was that. What else? Oh, Rufus' spirit ended up going into Donovan's body, so basically he can get the revenge on all the people that done him wrong, with basically Cole Williams' family, Joshua Anthony's family, John, who came into the general store, he was actually the cop back then, and Sam, who was supposed to be his best friend, turned on him, because it's like, now that makes sense, like, how else would they have gotten into his house? Basically, Sam set the trap and let them in without any knowledge. So, Rufus's body got put into Donovan's body so that he can, you know, wreak havoc and get revenge. So, Donovan, Cole's son, died. Joshua Anthony, he died before that could happen, so he took the coward out. He ended up killing Sam. He ended up killing John. He ended up killing Cole too, because he was in the nursing home. He ended up getting him too. So now it's just they end up going to. He wants to go home so bad that it's like the last day. Donovan goes to the house, and Ravine, Jamie, and the other boy end up going into the house to see what was going on, because Jamie's having problems with her own family. Like, her mom's an alcoholic, and she doesn't want to get her life right. So then one day she decides to get her life right and go to rehab. So her daughter was happy about that. But they end up going into Rufus's house, and Donovan was there. They ended up scaring them in. And next thing you know, long story short, the school called, the mom called Ravine's parents and told them that she wasn't in school, so they already knew where to go, because William ended up getting the card from Donovan one night, and told him if he ever in California to look him up. So that's how he knew. So they already know that he had the house down the corner, because they only lived a few houses down for him. So they end up showing up at Rufus's house. Next you know, he ends up trapping the kids into a room, and just so happens Ravine was stuck left in the hallway. Next you know, Aunt Velma's soul starts to come in and try to take her body. But her parents are at the door, so they're knocking on the door and they end up getting in, and Velma's soul leaves. So she ends up greeting her parents, and the parents was like, let's go check on the rest of the kids. So Ravine is still left in the hallway. Next you know, as the parents go in to check the room, they come back out like a minute later, and it was like, and they pick her up. Just so you know, Velma and Rufus went into her parents' body. Next you know, they show a funeral. Come to find out, Donovan ended up getting killed. And yeah, Donovan ended up getting killed. And at the end of the funeral, his wife and his co-workers all there to show love and support for him. It was like, that's crazy. How you go there to like handle your uncle's estate, and then it ended up dying in the process. Like, nobody would have saw that coming. So now Ravine's parents show up at the funeral like, hey, how are you? We're friends of Donovan. He was like, how do you know us? And William was like, Rufus was like, he gave us his card while he was there in Georgia, and if we ever in California to look him up. She was like, oh, okay, hey. And you already know the daughter got this sad look on her face, like, oh my God, what's about to happen? I hope they come up with a part 2 to this, because now I'm like intrigued and I want to know what's going to further happen down the line, but who knows? So that was the end of that movie. I actually enjoyed it, surprisingly. Like, I thought it was going to be like some boring, spooky movie, but no, that was actually intriguing and very interesting. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this recap, and I will see y'all in the next one. Bye.